I almost can't believe I'm leaving a message, making a video, laying in bed, haggard, and really tore up. Actually, I had quite the weekend. Monday, I started what I thought was a menstrual cycle. I've come to find out that I shouldn't really have menstrual cycles anymore because of the chemo. Going through chemo, going into chemical menopause, taking the tamoxifen, I shouldn't be getting menstrual cycles anymore. So really it was just, I was bleeding. And by Thursday morning, I woke up and the bleeding was, I mean, I had a miscarriage in 2015, I think, 14, I can't remember. And that's a lot of blood to lose. This was more blood than that. It was like, and not just blood, also the clots. Clots were the size of the palm of my hand, and they were just literally gushing out of me. Like every hour I would have to, no more times than that. Anyway, it was pretty intense. And by Thursday night, I really had noticed that I lost a lot of blood. So I took myself to the ER and they admitted me. I knew my platelets were already low. So, and it wasn't really clear, like, is it the ITP? Is it something else? They gave me IV immunoglobulin, which is something that helps with the platelets, basically. It's not a platelet transfusion, but it helps the platelets come up. So they gave me 2 transfusions of that, which was normal, the normal amount, and I was in the hospital. And meanwhile, like all day Friday, I was still losing the same amount of blood. So, I mean, I was weak, very weak. My hemoglobins were at 10 when I got to the hospital, and then by the time they checked it, anyway, they went down to 6.9, and they wanted to do a blood transfusion, and during that time, I had spoken to my gynecological oncologist at Stanford because, why did I talk to him? Oh, because the admitting doctor at the hospital wanted to give me progesterone to stop the bleeding. And I was like, okay. I mean, he and then my gyne-onc up where I live were like unclear about whether progesterone would be a good thing. And I had read women saying that they were on birth control and that helped them to not bleed. He just wasn't sure if that would be a good choice for me because of having the hormone-driven cancer that I was diagnosed with. My blood pressure is actually pretty low right now, and my hemoglobin is like, it's in the 8s, but when I went into the hospital it was 10, so I'm tired. But I lost so much blood. So okay. So back to my story. So they gave me the IVIG and they didn't give me the Tylenol and the Benadryl, and every time I've gotten those IVIG infusions in the past, I've gotten those kind of like pre-meds with it. And they didn't do it this time. One time I think they did and when they didn't. And I developed a headache that was like, no joke, like an 11 or 12 on a 1 to 10. I mean, I felt like I was, like I had to hold my scalp down. I was like, pressure really felt good. And they were giving me 1,000 milligrams of Tylenol, which took me from like an 11 to a 5 or 6, which really helped. Then they checked, my platelets were rising. My platelets were like 30s and then something else, and then eventually like 120, and I think now they're 200 something, which is really great. Although IVIG doesn't last long. It'll last a couple of weeks. So they gave me the blood transfusion. They sat with me. It seemed fine. And then they gave me another. Oh, they started to give me the second transfusion, but my headache was so bad I just couldn't handle it. So they stopped. And it also feels really weird. I don't know about anybody else, but like someone's blood going into my body, I felt like it kind of was like in my belly and in my brain, and like, I don't know. It's really weird, but oh shoot, I just pushed a button. Still trying to figure my phone out apparently. So anyway, so they ended up giving me the second blood transfusion, and then they had checked my blood. They gave me a third transfusion. Like, I was really ready to go. I'd been there 72 hours. I mean, the hospital, like, oh, it's so rough. It's just hard to be away from home, you know? They gave me ATX. No, TXA. I don't know what that stands for. I can't remember, but the A is acid. And when I was on the phone, I spent like 40 minutes on the phone with a gynecological oncologist at Stanford, and he said that that's what he would recommend. He's like, I would never give progesterone to somebody who had a hormone-driven cancer. And I'm like, okay, I don't know why they were considering it, but okay. And then he also said that somebody who has ITP taking tamoxifen can cause bleeding. And I'm like, what the hell? I don't understand why those things were happening, but they were. So he said, stop taking the tamoxifen. And somehow they were able to give me the TXA, which I was glad about. They were trying to tell me to do stuff, which I wasn't going to do. Like, anyway, so I got the TXA and the blood stopped like immediately. It was just so great to like, yeah, not have to get up with a level 11 headache to just expel amazing amounts of clotting and blood. He wanted to give me one more unit of blood before I left. When they checked my blood again, I think I was at 8 something, and I came home, and then I just felt weird. I came home yesterday, and I felt weird. I definitely felt weird. I had some chicken broth. I just didn't really want much, but then a friend of mine brought me some dal that was so amazing. It was the best dal I've ever had. I went to bed, and I mean, it sounds dramatic, but I was just like, I might die. Like, I mean, I could feel like my heart rate was up, that's for sure, but I've been noticing my heart rate has been getting pretty high. And I think it's just part of it's anxiety. I could feel my heart kind of beating fast, and which made me feel like I was a little short of breath, but I don't think I really was because I was able to like take deep breaths, and I could feel a little bit of like kidney pain, just like a little bit, but then also I was like, you know what, I've been in a hospital bed for 3 days, and I did a little online looking for like how long the effects of a blood transfusion could give negative side effects, and I saw that like it could be multiple days, which is crazy, even like up to a week or two or something with some sort of delayed reactions. I took a deep breath. I took a 1 milligram melatonin. I listened to something pleasant. I like to listen to Thich Nhat Hanh, and I just like laid here. I did take some apple cider vinegar because I know that that helps flush the kidneys, and so I just had a little bit of that, and I laid here, and I had my cat, and I had my pillow. I use this. I have to sleep with a pillow like in between the tissue expanders because they're still so uncomfortable. So I feel very like this pillow right here is something that is always with me when I'm sleeping. I love it. It's just like a baby pillow. So I had my kitty. There's my kitty. And I had my pillow, and I just took some deep breaths, and I had my melatonin, and I like was just like, you know, if this is the end, then this is the end. All I can do is try to get some sleep. So, because I really did think I was going to go back to the ER for a minute. I was like, you know, I don't feel right, but I couldn't bring myself to go. Like, I just got home, even though I was having symptoms that they said, be in touch with us if you have these symptoms. I just couldn't do it. So anyway, I fell asleep eventually. I had to wake up early to go get my blood drawn at my local oncologist. My ex-partner who still lives with me in my house, he woke up at like 1 in the morning, or I don't know what happened, but it woke me up, and I just like did a few things and noticed I still felt that kind of weird stuff. So I knew that by midnight I could take more Tylenol because I didn't want to give myself too much. So I took 650 of Tylenol, and then I just went back to sleep. And when I woke up, I was in a pool of sweat. I was really, really sweaty. Like my shirt was soaked. So I don't know what that was about, but I got up and went and had my blood drawn this morning, and my hemoglobin is at 8 in the 8 somethings, and my platelets are 2 something, which is amazing. And we just decided to put me on end plate, and they went over the side effects with me, and I was like, oh my God, this sounds terrible, but I just want to be done with this ITP. It's so frustrating, really, to deal with. So The other thing is when I did speak to the Stanford gyne onc, we decided, like, he said, this is not your menstrual cycle. I have a polyp on the uterus, endometrium. I think the endometrium lines the uterus, right? And so there's a polyp there. And then I might be wrong about that. And then there's a cyst on the ovary. And basically, he's going to take out my ovaries, take out my tubes, and scrape the uterus. And which is basically like an abortion. It's like a DNC that they'll do. And I do need to have general anesthesia for those procedures because he's going to cut through my stomach. I'm just like, sign me up. I'm ready. Like, I had considerations before. And the good thing about that is that I'll definitely be postmenopausal at that point. And so in terms of like treating the cancer so that I don't get a reoccurrence, I'll just take an aromatase inhibitor. I won't need to do the Lupron. Thank God. And not that the AI is going to be exactly amazing, but hopefully it'll go okay for me. It does go okay for some people. So that surgery is going to be like late May, and I'm prioritizing to have that done. And the other thing is that I realized, like, I'm prioritizing getting the breast reconstruction done. I have 2 expanders. This one's upside down, and I've been just postponing that process for various reasons because I just want to get back to life and do the things that I love that are important to me. And it's just like life is telling me no. Life is telling me deal with your health, you know. I also postponed things because I just needed a mental health break from all the issues I had in 2019. If I can, I'm going to have them do the surgery to finish the breast reconstruction. It's a small chance they'll combine it, but they might. And otherwise, I'll have to do 2 separate surgeries. I've had a really hard time with anesthesia. I mean, it's just hard. I feel like it whacks me out mentally. Things that I was excited about doing, I was doing a leadership program, I was doing my online business. I'm still doing that, but I've had to put the brakes on, which is crazy because with all this COVID stuff and stimulus check money, people's online sales have gone through the roof. And mine aren't that good, actually. They were really good right before COVID, actually, because I was putting a lot of time into it. And now they've just slowed down to kind of a crawl. But they're consistent. But they could be a lot more if I wasn't so, like bedridden right now. I'd be putting a lot of energy into it and probably doing well. But the point is to say I can still carry on doing that in like a low key way while I still go through like these upcoming surgeries that I have. So I guess 2020 is going to be the year of more surgery for me. I guess I was thinking I was going to push it off to like the end of this year, but that's my scoop. It's been a hard road, to say the least. But, the thing I always say is like, don't feel sorry for me. I don't feel sorry for myself. I'm not a victim. Things happen to everybody, and it's really just a matter of like what your perspective is and how you look at it. It's like, it's just circumstances of life. I'm just dealing with how it goes and doing my best. So, oh, shit.